Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to talk about this emergency proclamation for housing. Just a little bit about maybe the specific problems, underlying problems as stated, and what what this proclamation, you know, what this might solve or how it might help. So the governor signed this back in July, suspending a host of laws. It's also giving decision-making power to housing to a small working group. And I mean, first off, it's this idea, of a state of emergency for affordable housing. So, I mean, in this, it's a known issue in Hawaii. It's always been. I mean, back as early as 1935, so almost 100 years in the making. It's a systemic problem. And according to this proclamation, it's reached a crisis level commensurate with a state of emergency under HRS 12070. So, uh, whether it is or not, it's not debatable, but not for this video. So there's a saying, right? If when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So maybe when you're an ER doctor, everything kind of looks like an emergency. So that's what it is, I guess. So for me, my angle, I'm not a housing expert. I'm not an ER doctor. I'm just a simple engineer. And in my line of work, we're taught to challenge our assumptions. So to ensure that we have the correct requirements that then allow us to tailor the most efficient solutions. So the key, right, is to first understand what the problem is specifically, right? And then you can fit the solutions to the problem. So the problem drives the solutions. So it's not just a hammer looking for things to nail, right? So what is this problem that we have, right? Affordable housing, sure, absolutely. High level, it's a huge problem. It's been a problem, apparently a known problem, 100 years in the making. So just for the scope of this specific, proclamation, right? Specific things, actionable things that make this rise to a level of emergency that warrants a proclamation. So we kind of go into a little bit specifically, not just affordable housing is a problem, which it obviously is, right? Okay, so looking through these, there's about 3 pages of whereas clauses that speak to. And again, yeah, affordable housing is a big problem. It's a very complex problem, right? There's multifaceted problem. So okay, so um, I saw sort of three themes, main themes in these clauses. First, it's this, there's a health risk if you're in unaffordable housing. Um, they speak about poverty. So risk of homelessness and poverty, and yeah, yeah, obviously, right? There's no doubt if you're at risk of being homeless or in poverty, then definitely that's a health risk. So okay, that's fair. Okay. The second one was this idea of a gap and people leaving. So it's this idea of either a brain drain or Native Hawaiians, right, that are leaving, like in droves. Here is kind of what it's um, leading us to. That's what it's saying. And I guess we're supposed to read into that um, they're all leaving because maybe primarily due to the high cost of housing. Maybe that's kind of underlying um, assumption that one might make for these clauses. So um, the third theme I thought was a positive theme, kind of a hope theme. Let's see if we can find it. This idea that if your housing were more affordable, then maybe you could spend less on housing and your family would have more money. You could put to healthcare, education, and stability. So build wealth, upward mobility. Okay, this is great. Okay, so there's two main fear themes I saw. One is this unaffordable, the health risk, and the you could people homeless, risk of homeless, and poverty. Okay, that's one fear. Second fear was this idea that all the locals, we're all losing all the local people, our children, Native Hawaiians, they're all leaving in droves because of the high cost of housing. And the third is this hope that if housing were more affordable, right, then families would have more money to allocate to other things in their life. Okay, so this is it, right? This proclamation kind of feeds on these fears and hope. And so the question is, is that how realistic is that? And or can what this proclamation puts forth can that deliver to help solve that, I guess, is sort of the question. So um, the part to me that made it's kind of this crisis level idea, right, is that there's a report in 2019 that the state needs in the report 10,000 new units per year um, to address this shortfall in housing, and we're only making 4,000 per year. So in 5 years we'll make 20,000, but we need 50,000 according to this report. So it creates this quantifiable, near term. Hey, we need these 50,000 homes. Let me see. It's nicely. They made a nice glossy slide here. Big bold 50,000. We need it. Okay, so I wanted to kind of dive a little deeper into that study to kind of say, um, you know, what is this 50,000, and how would it address those alleviate the fears and whatnot. So this is this housing study 2019 is developed for HHFDC and housing developers. And if you look at the people that contribute to this, let me page down a little bit. There's these are developers, housing developers. And so kind of and the experts that weighed in, a vast majority of them are developers. So again, it's like when you're in the business of housing development, everything looks like housing development problem. So the idea might be that you can build your way out of this problem. Okay, so just kind of go through. There's a few interesting. Let's get to what they. Okay, so they did a survey, statewide survey, 5,000 households. This represents approximately 1% of statewide households. So 1% survey, and then they can extrapolate, into the numbers that are the demand, a general demand for the whole state, based on the 1%. Okay, so it's okay, something. Let's see. Oh, current stock. This is interesting. So in the state, there's 500 over 500,000 housing units, of which 10% are considered unavailable because they're vacant, either for seasonal or some other vacant use. Okay, so um, just to kind of so we know what the numbers looks like. 10% of 500,000 is 50,000. So it's 50,000 units that are currently in this vacant and unavailable state. So you talk about this drastic need for 50,000 units. We got 50,000 vacant, right? So um, again, it's not it, developing housing won't solve that problem. So it's not addressed in this study, which is kind of about housing development. In this study, they're just going to say, well, yeah, they ain't around, so we'll just say, you got 90%. So the vacancies are just like poof, like they just evaporate, right? They're not part of a building thing, so they're not addressed. They just subtracted out. In reality, they exist, in the world. They're taking up state land, So, but that's not the scope. So don't, that's whether or not we can recoup some of that. That's a problem for another study, right? Another group of people, not this working group, right? Okay. Oh, yeah, this is another um, page four. Just some recent trends between 2014 and 2017. We built 8,000 units in that time, but only 5,000 of those actually became occupied. So, um, a vast majority of units, not only of the 8,000, but more, um, became vacant in that time. So this kind of It's kind of an alarm, right? Where it's like you can't just build your way out of this, right? It's gonna be like some. It needs to be the right type of units, clearly, because you can't just build units that are gonna be vacant. This is an interesting kind of idea, maybe. So one of the metrics that they use is going to be called this pent-up demand, and so some of this demand that they're going to see, so housing that we need, is based off of this pent-up demand, and they're saying that if you are doubled up or crowding, so meaning like multifamily living, so it shouldn't sound that like foreign to you if you live in Hawaii, but for this study, that's considered like it's a bad thing. It's a sign that household formation may be constricted. So it's a sign that you know that these people do not want to, you don't want to live being crowded or doubled up. So, there's going to be definitely be demand to get out of that type of situation. So, that's one of the things that will be in the model for driving up the pent up demand. Um, just one more chart. Let's see. Did I? This one. Just visually showing the vacancies, especially in Honolulu, in that gap, 2014 to 2017. And so it's just that, uh, building these units, but they're not actually, becoming like, used for maybe residents. Or okay, let me just jump to the the bunch line here. So okay, so this is the total new units needed. So this is what we need. Okay, so um, again, the top line is occupied. So vacancies, we don't care about those. That's somebody else's problem. Okay, so top line is already just occupied units. Um, they say if you're never going to move, then you don't need a new house, so you're good. If you don't plan to move in 10 years, yeah, same. Um, in the survey, if you said you're going to leave Hawaii in the next 10 years, they just subtract you out here. Okay, so this idea that if we build it, they'll our people stay home. Yeah, they might, but that would add back to this number. So in this study, it's not like the people that need here are served by the 50,000, right? The 50,000 they're already subtracted out. Okay, so and then what they do is they subtract out people who can buy or rent at market. So the idea is like, hey, if you can buy and rent currently, you're on your own. Right? You can just go on Oahu RE and like just go Zillow and like you're just you're on your own. Okay, so what's left over is like 30,000. These are people who they're in households, right? So they're not homeless. They plan to move in 10 years, but they don't have um, they can't rent or buy at market. That's this 30,000. And okay, I mean they're underserved, right? But I mean, uh, they're not necessarily all at the risk of maybe homelessness, right? They have the households because they're in the survey. Um, uh, so and they're not moving, right? These are the people that I mean, if you moved, you're already out. Okay, so that's then they add back projection for population growth, and that's 20,000. So I mean, when I saw this need, I thought of it as kind of it's so 50,000 really is 20 projected growth, whether it be a net immigration and or just organic growth, and um, that's about 20,000, and then 30,000 are people who want to move in 10 years, but um, you know don't qualify at market. So that's kind of that. Um, I think I'm going to end this video. I'll go do a part two where I'll discuss kind of what's in the pipeline and kind of how it's going to maybe help meet these 50,000 units.